Hey everyone, welcome to the Small Success Podcast. I'm Pam Downing, the Operations and Marketing Strategist at Larison Media. Here with me, I have Drew. Would you introduce yourself?
Hello everyone, Drew Larison, founder and creative director.
And also hanging out with us today is Bailey.
Hey, I'm Bailey, brand strategist at Larison Media.
Awesome. Well, today you guys, we're going to jump right in. We are going to be debunking some myths about social media. And kudos to Bailey, because honestly, this was her idea, and it was a great idea. So the first myth we are debunking is that social media is only for millennials. So let's break that down, you guys. What are your thoughts?
I do not think it's true whatsoever. I think that everybody is on social media, regardless of what you think about millennials. They obviously are on there pretty heavily, but I think it depends from platform to platform who you're going to find on social media. For example, like a lot of millennials will be on Facebook, but Facebook is majority of like an older demographic, more people like 40 and older, I think. Whereas, you know, you're going to find your younger crowd hanging out more on Twitter, Instagram, those kinds of things. They're a little more fast-paced. Shelf life of a post on there is shorter, so you're posting more often on those, and that tends to be where the younger crowd hangs out, I think.
Yeah. So I actually did a little bit of research on this, and there are facts to back this up, and honestly, these blew my mind because of these statistics. So, super quick. 3.2 billion users are on all of social media, which is almost half the world's population.
Billion with a B.
Billion
to clarify.
with a B. Yeah. How many people are on the planet? I mean, 7 billion people. I think it's almost half the population of the world has some sort of social media presence. Doesn't mean they're engaged, but when they broke these statistics down by demographics, here they are. 90% of millennials are daily social media users. Sure, millennials are on and they're present. But so are Gen Xers and baby boomers. Over 77% of Gen Xers and almost half of boomers are using social media. So facts back up this myth debunking in that it is not all about the millennials. Drew, what are your thoughts on this? Generations, demographics, what do you see on social media? Who's interacting? How are they interacting? Bailey had a great point. Depending on the platform, it's different usage.
Well, I think my overall thought with this, what we're all going to be talking about today, is the more time goes on, the more I hate the actual term social media, because really what you think social media has become and is today, it's kind of just the current state of the internet.
Sure.
Like you really can't internet, using internet as a verb, without being on social media. So when you really think about it, no, it's not just for millennials, because everyone is using the internet these days. Every single person,
right?
You know, so it's not just for one demographic or one generation or whatever. It's everyone's using it because it's the internet. So I mean, it's that used to be reality. Literally used to be reality. When Facebook launched, only college kids could use it. You had to have like a .edu email to sign up for Facebook.
Yeah.
So I think people that still say that, which I hear it less and less because they aren't the people that normally I'm talking to when it comes to like what we do here. They're not millennials, you know, or younger. I'm talking to like an older generation business owner, and they know it because a lot of times I hear it a lot. If it's a man that I'm trying to talk to, they're like, I mean, I get it. My wife's on it all night on her phone, you know? So, I mean, really, and you talk about just the use of a phone, it's so much more than just a phone anymore. The phone is the internet. So if you're using a phone, you're using the internet, you're using social media all at the same time. So I don't think there's facts that certain generations and demographics use it more than others.
Sure.
Everyone's using it though.
Right.
And it goes back to the idea of marketing is just constant competition for attention. And like the device of a phone is where the mass amount of attention is right now. And everyone's competing with it. And because the phone is the internet. So, I mean, that's, I guess, my overall thought about it.
Yeah, and you make an interesting point about the words social media because it is the internet, and it's used for so much more than being social. Small businesses use it for marketing. Restaurants use it to post specials. Different industries use it in different ways. So it's informational, it's interactional. there is a social component. That's the building blocks of social media, but it's really become the go-to resource because of the convenience factor.
Yeah.
No matter your age or demographic.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't think it's one generation over another importance-wise. I mean, studies I've been seeing for years, fastest growing demographic on Facebook is like a 35 to 60-year-old woman. Like that's, I mean, and it's just crazy. Now, what you will say generation-wise when it comes to platform, I mean, at one point there were no adults on Facebook. Some adults started getting on Facebook. So the kids that were on Facebook,
We were getting off.
they left.
We
But,
did not want to
like,
stay where our
but-
parents were starting to come
But
to.
you're starting to see that other, platforms as well. I have full confidence. Older generation adults will be on Instagram a lot more in the next
Sure.
like 3 to 5 years.
Yeah.
You'll see a lot less kids on Instagram. And that, I mean, kind of that started to happen. And that's why Snapchat, became a thing, because no parent understands Snapchat the same way parents never used to understand. Why would you only want to type 140 characters?
Yeah.
Or why am I on Twitter just to tell everybody what I'm eating? That's like the classic response. Or Instagram. Why would I want to be on Instagram? I don't care what people are taking pictures of their food. Like the adults made those very generic statements of like kind of like smart aleck type of stuff. But the trend always happens.
Sure.
Kids start on a platform. Parent starts playing Farmville on the platform or whatever the game is. And then
Candy Crush.
Now Candy Crush. Now they're trying to share it to get extra gems or
Lives.
whatever it is. And I mean, gaming is a huge thing, but that trend keeps going, so I think that's true when it comes to generational, when it comes to
The early adopters.
the older generations follow the young.
That's an interesting, that's a whole nother podcast about leadership and how the younger generation is leading the way in many things, specifically with internet stuff. So just throwing this into this demographic conversation, I'll be really interested to see how our kids, the kids who will never know life without the internet, how they will use it and how they'll lead us in the next, 15 to 20 years.
Yeah.
So
It's interesting. I mean, it sounds like a hyperbole, but really you keep saying doing life with the internet. Our life is the internet.
Yeah.
Like every element of our life is surrounded by something to do with the internet. I mean, it's just, I don't know. That's what I'm like.
I mean, think about it. You don't go anywhere and see somebody not on their phone.
Yeah.
Like if you are not having a conversation with somebody, you're glued to your phone. That's just how it is.
Yep.
And then I would argue, like, even if you're glued to your phone, you're probably having a conversation with somebody just on your phone and not real
True.
life. So,
True.
yeah, because the older generation, they like to do, well, they'll never learn how to talk to anybody. But reality of it, younger generations are learning to be better communicators than anyone before. I really feel like they're doing it in a very different way,
Right.
but it's efficient. And like they're learning to do digital communication that still has emotion. I mean, I think
Sure.
we're going to be better communicators than anything has been in the past, just in a different way. So I don't know. I've always got good pushback to people
Yeah,
that say like,
interesting.
it's that thing for the kids. I'm like, I've been at dinner and 2 80-year-olds are on their phone at
Yeah.
the table. I mean, it's just not true anymore.
Right.
Oh yeah, we used to have the you can't have your phone at the dinner table rule, but now if we go out to dinner, guess who's on their phone while everybody else is not?
Yeah.
Dad.
I went over to my mom's house. It was a few years ago, and I hadn't seen her. I think I was gone for a week. I came back just to say hi. I sit down in her living room, and I timed it because I noticed what was happening, and I literally whipped out a timer. Like 7 minutes went by before she said anything to me because she was on her phone.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, I'm bad about this, Mom. Showed her the timer. She's like, I did not. I'm like, you did. It's
know.
happening. So
And time flies.
yeah, it's generational, does not exist anymore when it comes to the use of the internet / social media.
Yep.
Social media has really just become internet 2.0.
Yeah. Great point.
Yeah.
Okay, so the second myth that we are going to debunk is that tons of social media posts equal more success. And it's kind of a sidebar here. This myth, as we debunk it, will really be some great kind of tips and tricks. The Small Success podcast is all about empowering and helping and sharing between small businesses. So this one is really important to us. So tons of social media posts equals more success. Drew and Bailey, let's debunk this. What are your thoughts?
Again, that's something where I think it varies from platform to platform because the shelf life of a post is different on each platform. So like Facebook, you can probably post a couple times a day on there and be fine, but really any more than that isn't necessary. Instagram, a lot of people don't want to see one account take over their whole feed. So a post a day is fine on there. But when it comes to Twitter, your shelf life is so short on Twitter that if you want to do effective marketing there, you have to be on it. Like, it's almost a whole nother job of itself, because 15 minutes after a tweet is tweeted, you're not going to really see it again on your feed much. So, I mean, you've got to have several posts a day on there to really do it effectively. So it does vary from platform to platform.
Yeah. And Instagram's interesting to me too, because I feel like in the last, 3 or 4 years, since Insta Stories has been introduced, that kind of adds a whole new component to that platform. What are your thoughts on Insta Stories, you guys?
I think they're a good addition. It's a good way to keep your account relevant and noticed on there, but I would say there is a sense of overdoing that as well. You know, you don't want to have a minute-long story that someone has to click through. I mean, I think a couple stories a day, maybe with one post a day, is good.
Sure.
But I know that I don't like to see a story that has like 10 pictures on it, because I'm like, okay, when is this over?
Yeah. Yeah.
I think this topic of posting how many times, it's the same conversation that people like, oh, okay, so you post this many times a day. What time of day should you post? And here's like the tough answer that nobody really wants to hear in this conversation. It's so different for every single company.
Yeah. It's
so different. And I've always said that it's more of a quality over quantity conversation to me. Nobody cares if you're sharing 1 or 500 pieces of content a day if it's bad content.
Yeah.
If it's not content that is entertaining, educational, informational, or adding some type of value to your end user, no one cares. If you're posting 500 times a day and it's the best content and your audience loves it, they're not going to be complaining that you're posting too much. It's not going to happen. But the other way around, if you're only posting once and it's not great, they don't care. The quality matters so much more than the quantity when it comes to social media content. I always say I always think back in English in high school, and you got really lucky when your teacher's describing this new paper or essay you have to write. And you're always the only question you care about, or the only bullet point you actually care about is like, okay, how long does it have to be?
Yep.
How much work am I actually going to have to put into this thing? And the best days ever is when she said, quality over quantity. I don't care how many pages it is. Write a good paper. It was the best day ever. The same, and it's the exact same thing with social media content to me. It's so different. You could be a business that has an audience that for some reason loves only Insta stories. You never get engagement on like Instagram posts, but your Instagram stories kick tail. Great. Do those. But don't, do more of it where you're worried about the quality of it, not like how many Instagram stories we're doing.
Yeah.
I mean, let me ask you this. When's the last time you guys engaged with a mediocre piece of social media content?
Never.
It doesn't happen.
Right.
So like that is the priority when it comes to social media content, is the quality much, 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 much more than the quantity.
Yeah. And I think to your point about timing and kind of like what's the magic, what's the recipe for this viral post? Well, it isn't a one size fits all answer. And it's really industry specific. If your small business is in a tourist town, well, you're going to be a lot more active and a lot more engaged and have a lot more attention during your summer season, during spring, while you have people in and out of your town. Or if you're in an industry where your business is year round. So yeah, that's a great way to say.
Well, and why, as I said, like it's the answer nobody wants to hear.
Yeah.
Because it takes more work.
Yeah, right.
And I don't know if it's an American thing, but we want one solution. There's no variables. We just want to know the best way to do it and the easiest way to do it, and we'll go from there. This is just not how it works.
Yeah.
I tell, my staff all the time, like, we're marketing practitioners. The same way a doctor is a medical practitioner, they test doses, they test different medicines. Our job is to test different strategies, different types of content, different times of posting. Sure, we have access on our end to strategy or to software that shows like, hey, you get most engagement this time, but even that, there's so many variables that make that post different than another one. So many variables that there's no answer one for everything. However, you still should have that attitude of a practitioner. They like videos. Cool, we'll do videos. Oh, they like Instagram stories. Great, do that. But be conscious of the quality over the quantity is where you'll actually see success from that.
Another important factor to me is keeping up with like the trends of what is going on in the social media world to be relevant, because there's always like that one meme that's being remade for different situations and things like that that you have to stay on top of to know like what people are wanting to see.
Yeah.
I mean, if you don't know what's going on, you're not gonna be able to create the content that people are really engaging with.
Which goes around to the conversation we have all the time, which is relevancy.
Yeah.
Staying relevant, and to be relevant and stay relevant, you have to be conscious of what is actual relevant outside of your actual business.
Yeah. Knowing your audience.
Yeah.
Knowing your people. Okay, guys, the next myth we're going to debunk: your business needs to be on every social media platform. We're talking Twitter, Snapchat, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, all the things. Your business needs to be on each of them. What are your thoughts? Do you debunk this myth?
I definitely do not think every single platform is a good fit for every company. I mean, think about it. If you've got a product that is not visually appealing at all or anything like that, like Instagram probably isn't going to be your strongest platform, and you probably don't have to be on there. I mean, yeah, it's good for running an ad or two, but I don't see like, I'm trying to think of an example. I don't see paper on Instagram and think like, man, I really love looking at that paper. Like,
yeah.
So I think it just kind of depends on the service you're selling. If it's not visually appealing, that's not your place. I would say more like Facebook for that kind of thing. But I really do just think it depends on what you're selling.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to how many to be on, it's kind of like my same answer for the last myth, especially because we're talking to small business owners, right? And time is such a commodity for them. Be on as many platforms that make sense for your brand and product and service that you can do and still provide quality content on.
Right.
Because what happens a lot, and business owners are so guilty of this, is we get in the attitude, we're going to do everything. We're going to dominate the world. We're going to take on everything. Then you get spread, so you yourself get spread too thin, and then you end up doing mediocre at a lot of things and not really great at one. So, I mean, I always tell people, start off slow, maybe just a Facebook page. That's the most generic platform out there, that probably the most broad of an audience is on Facebook. And then with Facebook ads being connected to Instagram, you've got those similar capabilities. So maybe then jump to Instagram. But don't day one jump on 10 platforms and just try to do everything at once, because it's just not going to work.
Yeah, and some of this, I think, for the small business owner is knowing your people, knowing your audience. So a friend of ours works more in that professional services, financial realm. He has a great presence on LinkedIn. That's where his business is focused. He wants to work with professionals. He wants to network and build those relationships. I don't know if I've ever seen him post on Facebook, maybe once or twice. We happen to be friends, so I may see a cute picture of his kids every once in a while. But professionally, his focus is really honed in on LinkedIn. Whereas, you know, my favorite restaurant, they're posting all the time on Facebook and Instagram. But like what Bailey said, very visual. You know, they're posting pictures of really delicious looking meals and engaging with people that way and running contests or giveaways. But they know their audience. They know that people who want a delicious cheeseburger are hanging out more on Facebook and interested in talking about cheeseburgers on Facebook than they would be on than they would be on LinkedIn, which is more of a professional platform and networking. It's more of like the business social media for me.
There's also the element of, I'm a big believer that creativity is the biggest variable in doing marketing, especially digital marketing. So, but at the same time, start slow, but maybe there's a platform that you work, like if you are a restaurant, in perfect world, maybe you should be on LinkedIn, because maybe you do catering, and you want to cater towards businesses. But at the same time, the content that you would post towards that needs to be different. The creative needs to be different to make sense if a business saw it, rather than the content you're posting on Facebook and Instagram that is very consumer based. So
I think if you want to be on every platform, you can do it, but you need to take the time to learn what works effectively for your industry on that platform, rather than just throwing things out there and hoping it works.
Yeah, and because each platform to me has a different language it speaks.
Yeah.
I
That's
mean,
a great
if
way to
you're
put it.
if you're saying retweet on Facebook, it's not going to make sense. You know, so if you want to do that, it takes time, it takes intentionality, but it really takes a really creative mind to do content on that many platforms, and it makes sense and be successful.
Yeah. And that kind of what I'm hearing you both say is that intentionality, that strategy behind what you're posting has some thought behind it. And I feel like there is a little bit of tension or kind of a fine line to walk here between being strategic and intentional. For sure, that's proven success. Like, have a plan, make it work. As a small business owner, you know that things that have a plan behind them work better. But with social media, there is this element of whimsy and fun. And so there is, Drew, you have a quote about this, about like not overthinking every single thing that you post, because I don't want to take away that from the small business owner of, yes, be intentional. Yes, have a plan. Yes, have a strategy. But at the same time, if you see the latest funny meme, go ahead and share it. Maybe that wasn't a part of your master plan, but it still shows your personality. It still shows the fun on your page and in your business.
I think you're saying when I say to humanize your brand.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, everything doesn't have to be a call to action. You still have to have a personality and be able to have some fun. I mean, nobody wants to be business all the time.
Yeah, and that's the humanizing your brand in a way is if you treat Facebook, Twitter, Instagram this exact same way you would treat a billboard, it's not going to work.
Yeah.
People have different expectations for a billboard. People do not log on to social media platforms and expect to hear corporate jargon. You know,
True.
The same way maybe you would hear on a radio ad or the copy of a newspaper ad. Mm-hmm. They expect to see people and be social with those people. So the beauty of social media success to me is figuring out how to humanize a corporate brand to a person. What does that brand look like if there was a person? What are they wearing? What do they sound like? How do they walk? What do they do on the weekend? Give that brand a human feeling, and then every piece of content you put out, make it have that vibe. And that's a power of social media that you don't have in other places.
Yeah, great point. Any other thoughts, you guys, on myths? Are there myths we haven't talked about? Being in the social media world, we hear a lot of these myths every so often. So I thought we'd kind of take them head on today and spend some time debunking them. Any final thoughts from you, Bailey and Drew?
I think one that I think about a lot is hashtags.
Ooh, yeah, let's get into this.
So many people that I follow on social media have 50 or 60 hashtags at the end of their post. And while that's a great way to get eyes on your content for somebody that may be looking for that topic, the relevancy of the people you're getting on your post is not always.
You're referring to if it's a small local business, I'm guessing, right? And like,
I mean, yes, just
well, yeah.
hashtags in general.
If you're a sandwich shop, and let's say the town we're in, Kokomo, and you want to do hashtag Coke or sandwich,
hashtag
blah,
sandwich,
blah, 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 blah.
You're going to be getting people from New York, Australia.
Yeah, they're not gonna be buying
everywhere.
your
They're not
sandwich.
going to be in your local area.
Yeah.
So don't overdo those.
Well, a lot of people think the more the better.
Well, that's.
Let's.
I mean,
let's
that
check
goes
off
back
the
to
list.
that goes back to quality over quantity.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I don't care if somebody from another state that isn't going to support my local
Yeah.
business sees my.
Now, which I mean, in my head, if I'm a small local business, some sort of e-commerce should be existing in the world we're in. But if it's not, yeah, that doesn't make sense.
So relevancy, again, that's the key.
Staying relevant.
If you're going to use them, quality over quantity. Quality meaning relevancy. Probably not the best idea to just use hashtag Wednesday if you're that sandwich shop.
Probably not. I mean, what? You know, I think another myth that I hear a lot is social media is free. Why wouldn't you use it? And this really is not true for multiple reasons, but two of them really stick in my head. One, social media, to do it really well, takes so much time. And time, like the very old phrase says, time is money.
Yeah.
You know, your time as a small business owner or a marketing position at a small business is money. So the fact that maybe you'd spent 3 hours on it, but you didn't spend $1 doing it, it's still money because that's time that you're using
Yeah.
for. But that as well as the way that the social media platforms are moving, paid ads, it is such a pay to play, platform for majority of brands right now. Unless you naturally have an audience of millions of people that are dying to see anything you say or hear or, anything you're doing, you have to have some sort of paid budget to really make it worth your time. I mean, at Layers Media, we have like a minimum, we ask people to do for paid budgets, for boosts on Facebook, whatever it is, because it's not worth your time, to do and put all the time that it takes to do social media well, to create that quality content. You have to boost it and put it out to people, and that takes money.
Yeah.
But
Well, not to mention, if you're not doing boosting, you're going to be reaching your same audience that already follows your page over and over, and you're not going to be expanding beyond that as well as you could.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you want to get it out there and grow, you've got to do something.
Yeah, you never want to preach to the choir when it comes to marketing. You always want to have the attitude of who outside of the choir are we still not, hitting that we need to grow. Yeah.
Yeah. Great points. Okay. Well, thanks for joining us for the Small Success Podcast. We were so glad to chat with you guys today. Also want to let you know part of who we are is Kinley, who is not mentioned on the podcast up until now. You may have heard her in the background. She's our office dog, you guys.
Bailey's dog, actually.
I'm her mom, and if I'm not in the room, she freaks out.
That's right. So part of who we are as a small business ourselves. Loved having you guys here. Check out the show notes for a link to a blog to learn more about social media myths that we've debunked. LayersandMedia.com.